So it looks like Japan is preparing to approve the Activision Blizzard acquisition, and a Nintendo Switch 2 is supposed to be coming midway through the Switch generation. So as we know, the Activision Blizzard acquisition is up in the air right now. It is being investigated in multiple different areas. The three big ones, the EU, the FTC, and the CMA, which is the regulatory body in the UK. We know that the FTC has sued Microsoft trying to block this deal, and there is just a lot of crazy stuff going on. So we are not sure what is going to be happening going forward. But from what we have seen, if you look at all of the facts, it seems like Microsoft has a pretty strong case in order to get this deal to get passed. But you never know what's going to happen because the FTC seems pretty bent on making sure that they are showing their regulatory toughness. And one of the things I've asked myself, and I think a lot of people probably have the question, is why is the FTC going so hard in order to try to block this deal from an American company, which will keep a Japanese company on top? You would think that an American government would want American companies to prosper and thrive. Obviously, they don't want anything anti-competitive, but from what we can see, this is not an anti-competitive deal, and this will really help Microsoft and Xbox really compete with PlayStation. In fact, probably surpass it with all of the games that are going to be coming over to Xbox Game Pass. And then you would think Japan, on the other hand, wouldn't want this deal to go through because it would definitely be a threat to PlayStation at some point down the line, especially if Game Pass and cloud gaming continues to expand in that region. But everything seems to be working in opposites right now, as some news has come out, although this is just a rumor. Nothing here has been confirmed, but it seems like Japan is finding nothing wrong with this deal. So we have this news here starting from Reddit, and it was from the Xbox Arabia Twitter account in Arabic, obviously talking about Japan and the approval of the Xbox Activision Blizzard deal. But it's reported here by GameNews24.com, and they're talking about the Japan Fair Trade Commission, who have examined the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition. And they say here that they have found no valid reason to block this deal. Specifically, they say, we can't confirm this yet, but according to the reports from the Xbox Arabia Twitter account, the takeover attempt of Microsoft has been approved by the Japan Fair Trade Commission. According to what we have learned, Asia Antitrust has not found any valid reason to block the agreement, and there are no oppositions aimed at deciding whether to block this deal. Now, obviously, like they said, they haven't confirmed this yet. This hasn't been reported anywhere else, so it may or may not be true. But if this is true, it will be another step forward for this deal going through in other parts of the world. And it's all going to come down to those big three regulatory bodies, CMA, the EU, and the FTC, for obviously the main approvals of this deal. But this, like I said, it is kind of opposite as to what people probably are thinking these markets would want. I mean, you're in Japan, you want Sony, you want Nintendo to continue to thrive, the big Japanese companies. You're in America, you probably want Microsoft to thrive more with Xbox because it's an American company and it'll just be better overall. More Americans adding to the economy, going to work for Microsoft and expanding there. Just overall, probably a better thing for the country of origin of those companies to be thriving over foreign companies coming in and doing better. But if we go down to the Reddit post here where this was first talked about, you have some people here saying that there's no sources, obviously, so we don't know if this is 100% true. But this person says here, quick Google search on the JFTC. They barely block any deal, so I am not surprised. In response here, I mean, for Japan, how much of an impact would this even have? Nintendo pretty much dominates due to its mobility. And that's a good point. Right now, Xbox is trying to grow in Japan. They aren't there yet, but they are trying to continue to expand out with xCloud and the mobile side of things. But I can see Xbox continuing to grow. If they can go out and continue to get Japanese developers like Tango Gameworks, which they got with the Bethesda acquisition, and continue to get more Japanese style games into Xbox Game Pass, which they have and has been improving over the past year or two. It is going to be something that I think will be formidable at some point in the future if people are able to play all these games on their mobile phone on the go, and it's just really easy to access. I could definitely see Game Pass, I could definitely see Xbox growing. They're already doing much better than they were with the Xbox One generation, which, I mean, it was pretty much non-existent. They did decent with the Xbox 360 generation, but that was a generation where they had things like Japanese exclusive games for the Xbox 360. It was much different. They completely dropped the ball with the Xbox One, and now they really got to make up that ground. But I think they are doing better. I've made videos in the past just how they've already surpassed so many sales numbers in the same time span from what they did with the Xbox One, and I can foresee the Xbox Series S and X outselling the Xbox 360 in Japan this generation. We'll wait and see what happens with this. I mean, it's non-stop stuff coming out. Even over Christmas, there is stuff coming out about this deal, and I'm sure it's going to continue to go into 2023. But here's the thing. Whether this deal goes through or not, the biggest thing for me is going to be, are these games coming to Xbox Game Pass? If these games are not coming to Xbox Game Pass, the deal doesn't matter. There's still so much to play, and 2023 is shaping up to be an absolutely massive year for Xbox and for Xbox Game Pass. I mean, even just go look at what's coming out in January on Game Pass from third parties. Even if it isn't first party, there's so much stuff that we're already going to be able to play. And I mean, here are the games that we already know for January. Persona 3 Portable. This was part of the big Persona release, that huge announcement. Persona 5 is already on Game Pass. Persona 4 Golden, again, another big game. And both those games are going to be huge in the Japanese market. Monster Hunter Rise, another big game that was exclusively on the Switch when it first came out, but now it's going to be coming out to Game Pass and to other consoles. Again, another game that would be popular in the Japanese market. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition for console. Very excited and very happy to see this one on there just coming over to console, especially because they've also announced that Age of Empires 4 is also coming to console. Then you have Inkulinati and RoboQuest, which both games, never heard of them, but hey, there are just more confirmed games coming from January from a slate that we have no idea what else is going to be on there yet. All right, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch. As we know, the Nintendo Switch came out in 2017, and we keep seeing rumors pop up about a Nintendo Switch Pro or a Nintendo Switch 2. We got the Nintendo Switch OLED release, which, yes, an amazing screen. The games do look much better in handheld, but nothing upgradable in terms of the actual system specs of it. You're playing the same Switch, just with a better screen and paying a bit more money for that. And unless you play your Switch primarily in handheld, there's really no reason to get the OLED edition. But the console itself still is selling like crazy, still extremely successful. So if you're a Nintendo right now, you're looking at this and you're saying, why would we even put out a new console at this point when we can manufacture the current Nintendo Switch at such a cheap cost, still sell it for $300-400 or whatever it's going for, and people are still eating up and people are still buying it. But it's getting long in the tooth. I mean, we saw what happened with Pokemon. Now, the latest Pokemon games absolutely should be able to run on the Nintendo Switch. I don't even think that's a hardware problem that is wrong with this game. If you saw Pokemon Arceus, is pretty much the exact same open world style of thing with the same graphics, and that game was able to run. So I think that was just a development issue, but stuff like that, we are seeing more and more where games are having problems or they're having lower resolutions and lower FPS just because of how weak that hardware is right now. And it would be great to be able to see some of these games just perform better, have higher resolutions. And like when you think about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, I would love to see what that game could potentially look like and run like if it was on more powerful hardware. I'm sure it's going to still run great because the Nintendo first party stuff generally do run very good. But a surprise announcement for a Nintendo Switch 2 or a Nintendo Switch Pro with the release of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom would be just a great announcement. Now, it isn't out of the question, but Nintendo, we haven't heard anything from them. None of the rumors have been true, but apparently they were actually looking at a mid-gen refresh at the Nintendo Switch before they scrapped it. So we have this article here from InsiderGaming.com, and it says a new mid-gen Nintendo Switch was planned but scrapped. It's claimed, and this was claimed during the DF Direct Weekly, so Digital Foundry, and they are saying here, so I think at one point internally, from what I can understand from talking to different developers, is that there was some sort of mid-generation Switch update planned at one point, and that seems to be no longer happening. And thus it's pretty clear that whatever they do next is going to be the actual next generation hardware. So no mid-gen refresh. The Nintendo Switch is going to be this Nintendo Switch, the same hardware, obviously, except for the screen with the OLED edition throughout its entire life cycle. And then they're going to come out with a new console. This Switch has been so successful. And if you look at what happened with the Nintendo Wii, how successful that console was, And then they went ahead with the Nintendo Wii U and how much of an abysmal failure that console was. Now coming out with the Switch, which again, an insanely successful console. I wonder what they are going to be doing next. Are they going to be doing something like the Nintendo Switch 2, have a similar name, which would go along lines as the Wii U? But would that affect its sales, or would people just see that it has more powerful hardware? Or are they going to come out with something brand new? Honestly, I don't really play it in handheld mode that much. I would love to see Nintendo just kind of release a traditional console, have that more powerful device that can play 4K, get the 60 FPS. Probably not what's going to happen, because it's pretty clear that, especially in Japan, handheld gaming dominates, and Nintendo does not want to lose that market. So it'd be pretty crazy to move away from something that incorporates the switching back between on your TV and then being able to take these games and play them on the go. But it'll be very interesting to see what they do, specifically with like the naming convention of this thing, especially because of how much the Wii U failed coming off the major success of the Nintendo Wii. But that's it for me, guys. What are your thoughts on all this stuff? What do you think about Japan potentially approving the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition? And what do you think the next Nintendo console or handheld or whatever is going to be? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here and you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.